Okay, so today we talk about a very important tool called Flash. Flash, we use a lot of it. Flash was developed in around 2017 by Dr. Phil Mansfield. He's a psychologist out of America. And I actually think that his discovery of Flash will someday be recognized as a big step forward in mental health. So the technology of Flash is what I want to kind of talk to you, because I think if you use this technology well, then you can accelerate your recovery or accelerate the recovery of your loved one a lot. Because what Dr. Mansfield discovered was the brain actually wants to process the things that happen to us that are causing us problems. So you're upset, you're angry, the brain actually wants to resolve that, make it okay when you're bothered, but then your amygdala fires and it stops it. And amygdala fires when we're in the survival response. And so what happens, so we talk about this in the subconscious garbage can. So you have conscious. So this is consciousness. This is what you are aware of. Right now you are conscious 5, 10 different things. Not too many, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, because that's too much. Conscious is just where your attention is right this moment. That's consciousness. Everything else we call in the subconscious. So what happens, the reality is consciousness is very tiny, subconscious is very, very big. And I have a different video on this that talks about the conscious and subconscious garbage can. But the thing is that your consciousness, this is actually an over-representation. Your subconscious is not just 8 times bigger than your conscious space. It's actually more like this. Your consciousness is this little dot. Your subconscious, and even this is not doing it justice. Your subconscious is really big. Your consciousness is a tiny little thing. Chota jahega jada asi dhyan kar de. And so it's very important you understand that the subconscious is what controls you. The subconscious sets your hidden agenda. Subconscious sets hidden agenda. And so we care about the subconscious because it's the hidden agenda that compromises your life, that makes you communicate poorly. When you communicate, 99% non-verbal. You've all met people who look totally nice, totally fine, but you don't know why, but you don't trust them. I'm sure you've all had that experience. Someone asks you, why don't you give them a chance? I just don't trust them. I don't believe what they say. You just met them for the first time. How can you know them? I don't know. I just don't trust them. That's how your subconscious, that's how your antenna, the human system is an antenna, and you can detect all this. You might not know what. My goodness, that would suck if you could tell exactly what's lurking in people's heads, because it's not very pretty. what lurks in the heads of people. I don't want to know, personally. All I know is that if it's really toxic, really messy, je both jair ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਛਾਣਦੇ. Everyone knows, everyone can tell that there's a lot of rotten things in there that need to get out. So the way it works is that you have the consciousness, the conscious space. This is where problems, where we put our focus. They say that thoughts are generated by the mind at a rate of over 1,000 per blink of the eye. A blink of the eye is around 0.1 seconds, so 10,000 a second. That's how fast your mind is producing thought, is according to yoga. And so you're not aware of 10,000 thoughts, but but they're happening. The only time that stops happening is when you're dead. You cannot stop that process. The mind, its job is to do and produce that process. And so the thing is, if we even in the depths of our meditation, and you're like, oh, totally calm thought, your brain is still producing all these thoughts, but you're not aware of them, because a lot of these thoughts, they just kind of go. They start, they come, and then they go. The more you play with a thought, the bigger it grows, but most of them go. So let's say 999, so 1,000 enter per blink of the eye. Let's say 999 go away. Who knows where they go? And then one enters, and then with focus, it grows, it gets bigger, it gets bigger. And it results in some kind of structure. So the thing is that thought, how it should work is that thought should result in an action, and that action should resolve things, and then it should be gone. Generally, that's the only way. If you imagine 1,000 thoughts per blink of the eye, they come, and if you're not getting rid of them, all of a sudden you're filling up. Like a boat that's in the water, if it has a hole, it starts to fill up. That can't go on forever, because eventually that boat's going to sink. You have to be able to deal with the thoughts and let them go. The brain is really good at solving the problems. Problems get solved in the subconscious. And so an example of a problem solved by the subconscious is, what do you want to eat tonight? Ki khana chunde aaj? A subconscious ede muqabla kar diya. So what do you want to eat tonight? I don't know. Let me think about that. And then you get busy, do something else. What happens is that idea, sometimes it needs to be parked in the subconscious for a while, for it to grow, get bigger, get more defined, action, and then it pops in here. Sometimes you need more time. And that's what the subconscious is for. It's for take into account what you like, what your wife likes, what the family likes, what you can afford, what you ate last week. There's 100,000 considerations in this simple little thing. In this simple little thing, there's 100,000 considerations. 1 lakh ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ, And so in those things, your brain finds the one thing that works, and that's your subconscious at work. That's how it's supposed to work. Things are not meant to stay in here. But we can abuse our subconscious when we put things in here that we're not ready to action, such as, something else you put in here. It's like anger. Well, that's going to mature and have an action. Maybe the action is I'm sorry. Maybe no one ever taught you that. Maybe you just don't like saying sorry. Maybe you just want to be mad or sad or bad or whatever. And so then what happens is it grows. It grows, but you're not ready to action. And so then eventually you forget about it, and then it ends up sitting. And whether you're aware of it or not, over the years it grows. It gets bigger. This could be more than anger, it could be memory. Usually emotions are attached to memories, right? But whatever it is, it just keeps growing. So then over the years, if you've had a bad childhood, if you've had a lot of stuff happen, your system is collecting these big things. Some are bigger, some are tiny, but you're not clearing things. And then they collect, and your head gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And maybe you take some antidepressants or something, and that might increase the amount you feel like you can handle, maybe increase the size of the subconscious, but guess what? That can fill up too. It does. And so at some point, nothing works, and what happens is now you're full. And then something funny happens, like in life it always does. You get a trigger. And a trigger goes in like a big red bomb. And that big red bomb, you're not ready to deal with. It's too big, you're too upset. You want to punch someone? I hope you don't. Action that. It's going to get you in trouble. Some people do, our jails are full of them. But most people, I'm just really angry. I need to put this somewhere. So what do? They flush it down the toilet into the subconscious. That's why we call it a garbage can, because you filled it with garbage. It's a beautiful thing, but you abuse it. So you fill it with garbage, but you know what? There's no space in here. The only way there's space in here is if you kick something out. So now this ugly thing, whatever it is, comes out, and it actually doesn't just go anywhere. It comes into your conscious space. And the more, and then let's say you try to avoid that, that gets deposited like another bomb. That goes in here, and then more stuff gets kicked out. And so we get people in here all the time saying they can't stop being negative. And these things, this is how it happens. Your subconscious, when it's full, it just puts it out and it can't stop. And so I talk about this in detail in another video, but this forms the basis of the flash technique. Because most of the time, by the time people have really messed up lives, really messed up situations, really a lot of emotions, drinking, drama, by the time they end up seeking help, they're not empty like this. They're really full up. So what we accomplish with the flash, so flash technique, Dr. Manfield discovered that if you just triple blink regularly, like 3 times really quick, like this has an effect. When you do it in a certain way, with something that's relaxing and your attention is on something good, what happens is that whatever your attention is on, your brain if any of this has been recently triggered, right? Your brain, let's say the green is recent, in the last 24 hours, in the last hour, 5 hours. What happens is when you do the triple blinking and you're calm, you actually can process these things. These things get processed. You can lighten your load. And if you have some of this stuff, then maybe it's there, but it gets smaller if it's a big thing. So let's say you have a regret with one of your children or something. Let's say you just got off the phone and you were arguing with your ex-wife. And this thing is top of mind, because kids are big in people's lives, so it's big. And well, now it's something that it's green now. You've activated it. If you apply flash technique to it, it'll get a little bit smaller. Because the brain, at some level, knows none of this is happening right now. None of these memories, none of these things. All those bad things happened years ago. At some level, the brain knows. But the trouble is as soon as it starts thinking about this, it activates the amygdala, and the amygdala shuts down the frontal cortex. The frontal cortex is the long-term thinking part of the brain. It shuts it down, and so the frontal cortex can process this. It's easy. That happened. Lots of reasons why that thing happened. Not a big deal anymore because, A, B, and C. But as soon as you think about it, your emotions come up, part of you feels like it's happening right now, and it shuts down your processing activity. And so what Dr. Manfield discovered, and I'm going to teach 3 ways to use flash in the next few videos. What Dr. Manfield discovered was by tapping, just like this, just tapping, you can tap your chest, left, right, left, right. This tapping, what it does, if you're at home, you can do it along with me. What tapping does, like this, it captures your mind and it focuses the attention. There's a lot of ways you can tap. Most people find tapping very relaxing. Left, right, tap, tap. It relaxes the mind, and that's why people like to walk. Walking is a form of bilateral stimulation. Anytime you activate the left and the right hemisphere of the brain rhythmically, left and right, the brain says, oh, it lets go of whatever trigger is there and says, oh, let's focus on this thing. So what he discovered is when you tap left and right, this comes from EMDR, but then you do this thing, you focus on something really nice, like a nice memory. You think of 5 memories that you have that are really good, and you just focus on them. Forget about this. 5 things that make you feel really, really good. Or a mantra, like some affirmation, something that makes you feel really, really good. You focus on that instead, and you start feeling good. But all of you have done this, right? You're triggered, you're bothered, you move your focus onto something else, and that other thing doesn't bother you, but as soon as you stop, it's right there again. Nothing changed. So yeah, you got 5 minutes of rest, but the problem's still there. That's the secret of Flash. So what he discovered, and we don't really know why it works, but when you do the tapping and you triple blink really fast 3 times, for some reason, it turns off your amygdala. It stops it from turning off your brain, and then your brain knows all the things in the last 24 hours that are emotionally stored. It knows where the bombs are. So these memories have like a marker, and the brain knows exactly what they are. It's called the blue bomb sign. So it knows these are all bombs. Some bombs are bigger, some bombs are smaller. And so the brain knows that the system is not well served. It's not good for the brain to have all these bombs in it. It knows that. And it even has the technology to disarm the bombs. If the amygdala would just stop shutting it down. So with Flash, if you just do this simple thing in these next 3 videos that I talk about, what the blinking does is it will, anything that's green, that's top of the mind, let's say this is a fresh trigger, top of the mind, the brain will then target it. And it will say, okay, I'm going to reduce the intensity of that. The brain can update any memory at any time. And if it was triggering, it can make it a not triggering memory. And so, I think that so the benefit of this is in recovery, after a counseling session, after a meeting, after an argument with your ex, after a problem with your kid, after a problem with your mom, those are all activating bombs. And if you use this technique to calm down, then not only are you calming down, you're also partially processing and weakening some of these bombs. Every day we're triggered. You've learned to run away from your triggers. You learn to run away from your triggers. I say, don't run away from your trigger, go towards it. Learn from it. Use it to grow, and this technology will let you do that. Just by blinking your eyes, tapping or walking, and doing that for 10, 15, 20 minutes. It may not get rid of it. Maybe you're really, really mad. Maybe you're so mad, then this won't do the job, because you won't be, the key to this Flash is that you have to, the key to Flash is you have to be almost 100% distracted. So you have to find something, and most people have something that they can focus on that they feel relaxed. That's not related to the trauma. It could be something in nature. It could be some positive memories. It could be spiritual, religious music or words. It could be anything. But just focusing on that, tapping and then blinking every 5 to 10 seconds. Let's say every 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you just triple blink. And do that for 5-10 minutes. You have calmed yourself and you have disarmed some bombs. And that's what recovery is. Recovery is disarming bomb by bomb. And Flash allows you to do that in a safe way. Because we're all triggered every day. The thing is, the things that trigger you today, let's say someone says your wife disagrees with you and that triggers you. Well, it's not just your wife triggering you or your husband. Their trigger ignites, because this is explosive material. It ignites deeper bombs, oftentimes going back to the childhood. So simply by having a daily practice of Flash, you can little bit by little bit reduce the intensity of all of these things. So why not? Everyone walks somewhere. Add a bit of triple blinking into it. Add a bit of mantra as you walk. So I encourage you to experiment with Flash and know this. Know that Flash is a neurological process. It always works. Flash always works. If you are distracted enough, it will always work. Even if you don't feel much more calm, you're probably a little bit better than you were in terms of your subconscious garbage can. If it took you 40 years to accumulate this, it's not going to go overnight. But little bit by little bit, you will find that a daily practice that involves Flash in a meditation, in a prayer, a lot of people, they're very spiritual. They get into the spirituality and they're so high and they're feeling so good. They just need to do a little bit of Flash in that. And then it'll start applying it to the things that bother them. Most people, they're spiritual when they're in their practice, but when they come out, they feel horrible again within a few hours. So Flash allows you, when you're really feeling good, to actually use that good feeling to decode and diffuse some of the bomb. And that is crucial. So I'm going to just, in the next video, I'm going to actually do some simple and progressively more advanced applications of Flash. For each one, practice it until you get it, and then try the next one. Don't give up on Flash. It works for everyone. It has to work because it's a brain thing. It's not like a religion thing. It's not like it has to work unless you're not a human. Then I make no promises. But if you're a human, it works. And that's the thing. This is one of those big tools that you need to get the job done. So a lot of people struggle with recovery. This can accelerate it by years. So mastering this is key, and then we will talk about, and in the next video I will demonstrate a couple of different applications of Flash. So many thank yous. Apologies if I misspoke. Of note, Flash is evidence-based technology. It's not generally used as a daily practice like what we use. It's oftentimes used in therapy, and some of you have had therapy with me. We use it in many different ways. I'm just introducing Flash as something that you can use to help relax, maybe help get through the craving, help take advantage of your triggers to just a little bit by little bit decoding things in the past. So that's how we're using it, but there's lots we can say about Flash. So thank you.